I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some modestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Of all what is happening right now, though the Russian-Ukraine conflict is not the only effect.
It's not the only effect.
Yeah,
right now it's becoming wide and wider.
Worldwide, effect.
It's this war between these two big
These
powers.
two big powers,
Russia
which is affecting our economies.
and these guys USA. So today, people, we are going to talk about the Cold War. We are going to look at the history of it. We're having an expert here. He's going to tell us about the history of the Cold War, and we are having the history, and then we are going to look at the effects. I mean, I thought people, you know what people say about history, like why should I study history? Why should I
study history? It's just something
really
interesting.
Right now we are getting to realize that it's because of a historical fact that the war in Ukraine is going on.
It's because of the historical fact that the war in Palestine is going on.
Is going on.
It's because of the historical fact that our economies are shambling.
I know.
It's because of the historical fact that we have such leaders. You know what I'm saying?
I'm getting confused here, but we shall dive into
it. Yeah, we shall dive into it. So let's introduce you the Cold War politics. Well, the Cold War wasn't like, as you know, this war that was cooperated between, like it's a gun war, you know what I'm saying? Like a bombing missile. It was just a verbal war. You know what I'm saying? Like people arguing in a verbal, fighting in a verbal way. That's and it was caused by the difference in ideas. Some people believed that resources are supposed to be shared by everyone in the state. Like Louis, you work your money, and some guy who doesn't work wants a share on your money. Then another group of guys say, no, what is mine is mine. Then they're like, okay, let's see who gets more supporters.
But before we dive into all that, I
Yeah.
would like us, our listeners out there, first tell us of what reason should we even get to know about the Cold War? Why?
Well, we should get to know about the Cold War just because it's what is shaping our world today right now. Its effects are what we are now practicing.
Facing
Yeah, what we are facing and practicing.
in a way,
Yeah, in a way, like in the economic way.
you're either for Russia or for
You're either capitalist or communist. Yeah, also, not only like in a state perspective, but also in our personal life perspective. What can I say? Sometimes like, my money is my money. And so I say my money is for the people. Community money, when like, my neighbor must pay, my neighbor must pay.
So before
Cold War.
when did the Cold War happen?
Well, the Cold War began after the Second World War. You know what I'm saying? And it lasted till 1991 when the Soviet Union collapsed. Because it was both the Soviet Union and the American government
USSR and
instilling
USA.
and USA trying to instill. These are the new superpowers that emerged after the Second World War. Well, the spark of factor was, I think, the Berlin blockade. Yeah, the Berlin
What's
blockade.
that?
The Berlin blockade happened in 1949, whereby, these Russian soldiers or the USSR government didn't want assistance. Okay, no, didn't want to spread assistance to the other side of Berlin because after the Second World War and the fall of the German dictator called like Adolf Hitler.
Your role model.
Yeah, it's not my role model in a way that you guys understand, but well, everyone has a story to tell. Like we have to listen to his side of the story. But after his fall, maybe he didn't agree with the people, like with his other European counterparts, by killing 6 million Jews. So well, when after the fall of Adolf Hitler and his defeat in the Second World War, the victorious. The victorious, how do you call them?
Allies.
Yeah, the Allies decided to divide Germany among themselves, which led to the formation of East Germany and West Germany. So West Germany was the capitalistic Germany, and East Germany was the communist Germany. So guess what happens?
With West Germany and East Germany.
Yeah. So they divide Germany into half, and they're like, we are going to consider governments of their own. But after the Second World War, they didn't divide them immediately. But the division came as a result of the construction of the Berlin Wall, whereby the USSR government was like, no, this is our part. You're spreading communism ideas. And the Americans are like, okay, this is our part. You're spreading the capitalistic ideas. You get my point?
Which reminds me, during that time where we're having this tension,
Yeah.
the Berlin Wall did not come to when? Do you know when it was constructed?
The Berlin Wall was constructed after, I think it was in 1949.
49
Yeah.
years after
After the First World War.
the First World War.
Yeah.
But what really forced these guys to construct the Berlin
Oh,
Wall?
well, what forced them was, how can I say it? Actually, like I told you earlier, after the Second World War, Germany was divided into two full occupation zones, with the US, the UK, and France controlling the western zones, and the Soviet Union controlling the eastern zones. So similarly, the city of Berlin, although located in the Soviet zone, was also divided into four sectors. Being the capital city, everyone wanted to have a share of the capital city, where
Share of power.
yeah. So it was also divided into two full powers and controlled by the four allies. Well, the division of Berlin also became a symbol of the broader division between the Eastern Bloc countries, which were under the Soviet influence, and the Western Bloc countries, which were under the United States and its allies.
They were under all lead.
Yeah, they were under all lead. So what happened was this. In 1948, the allies moved to merge their zones of Germany to form a more unified West Germany, including a new currency called the Deutschmark. That's German, meaning I think Deutschmark. I don't know what it means. Which was meant to stabilize the economy in their zones. It had been affected by the Second World War, and they also had that kind of love for the Germans. Like, okay, let's improve their economy.
Inakenyagala kuisawa. It's the way these guys handled their enemies. There was too much love.
Yeah. Oh, okay. The problem wasn't with the Germans; it was with the leaders.
By the German leaders
Yeah.
were good.
Yeah, because if you go back to Napoleon's time, they didn't have problems with the French. They had problems with Napoleon as a human being. Get my point now? So they didn't. So they couldn't blame Germans for that, for the likes of Hitler to be, So later on, hope you've understood that. So what happens after that? The introduction of the Deutschmark. The Soviet Union, however, saw this as a direct threat to its control over East Germany and Berlin, and it opposed any efforts that could lead to a strong democratic West Germany. Whereas the Soviet Union government had a different ideology for Germany. They believed that when we develop Germany again, it could maybe come up and start up a war of revenge, which could result into the Third World War, maybe.
These guys were really, really afraid of Germany.
Of Germany as Germany, because they
Germany
know
as
what
Germany.
had happened with Germany. I remember at one point in the Second World War, Germany defeated Russia. I know that. At some point,
at the beginning, the moment what happened, Hitler had signed a treaty with Stalin,
Yeah, with Stalin.
promising not to attack.
Yeah,
Who breached the contract? Was it
I
Stalin?
think it was because
It was Hitler.
Because Hitler invaded Poland, which Poland was kind of a Russian. Yeah, it was under Russian. Okay, it was independent, but under Russian governance.
In a sense, the USSR was already in place, but
No,
rather not in.
And the USSR began in 1940 after
the
World War II,
Oh.
which was uniting all states in Eastern Europe.
Oh.
Poland, Czechoslovakia. We have countries like Lithuania. All those countries in Western Europe. Sorry, in Eastern Europe.
Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
So, then this Hitler guy attacks Russia.
Well, attacks us, and he defeats it at some point. Then I think the Allies come and they're like, "Yo, let's go with our brother," and then they go and help him.
Actually,
You know what I'm
it
saying?
wasn't the Allies. It was the weather.
Oh yeah.
It
You know
was
they
the
have
weather.
that bad weather that easily. Because even Napoleon at one point when he defeated at Moscow.
Moscow has been defeated many times.
No, at one point at Napoleon
He
even
also
Moscow.
defeated Moscow.
What happened was that they found an empty city and all his soldiers died of winter, hunger, all that stuff.
And whereby the Russians, they fled poisoning
Yeah,
the water,
they fled, yeah.
the water, and then they fled and they left the snow to work.
To work,
upon them.
to work upon them. So, but at one point he defeated the Russians. So let's go to the blockade itself. So in response to the Western Allies' actions, the Soviets launched the Berlin blockade on June 24th, 1948.
Okay.
Yeah, and they cut off all land and water routes into West Berlin, including highways, railways, and canals, making it impossible to supply the city with food, fuel, and other necessities of life. You know what I'm saying? And this was an attempt to force the Allies out of Berlin and prevent West Berlin from becoming a beacon of democracy and capitalism in the middle of a Soviet-controlled territory.
Which reminds me, one of the reasons why that wall was constructed is that Germans from East Germany crossed over and they were comparing, they were seeing a stark contrast between communism
and capitalism.
whereby they go to one side of Germany and then they realize they have one thing about communism is that the buildings were the same, like they were putting on a uniform.
Yeah.
They will have similar buildings all through. Whenever they crossed to West Germany, there was variety. There was fun. But these guys had curfew. These ends till midnight.
People are free, yeah.
Yeah, but so they were making a contrast in Germany. Not until, was it during Stalin or after Stalin, the president after Stalin, who came in and was like, now I think we just need to make a real clear-cut difference between us two. And then they built that big wall.
That Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good story. But
It's
then
something interesting, like, these guys are having food, they have fun, and then, it was
But
just
you know-
amazing.
But do you know why the Soviet Union was doing all this?
Why?
Its goal was to starve West Berlin into submission, hoping that the people of the city or the Western powers would give up and allow Berlin to fall entirely under Soviet control.
It was Truman who said, then we
There
shall
was-
fly in the supplies.
Then now that's the Berlin airlift.
Uh,
Now that's what you're coming into. So instead of giving up, what the US did and its allies was to choose to respond with a massive airlift operation.
carry the
full by
supplies.
force. We leave East Germany to West Germany. So what happened over the course of the next 11 months? They used cargo planes to fly supplies into West Berlin, bypassing the Soviet blockade, and the airlift known as the Operation Vitos, led by the US, and the Operation Plainfare, led by the United Kingdom, became one of the largest humanitarian efforts in history.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I wish they could do that for Gaza.
As we Vania. And the aircraft, of course, like history has it that more than 200,000 flights were made during the blockade, delivering food, fuel, and other necessities to the people of West Berlin. Then the operation scale, history also has it that planes were landing in West Berlin every 45 seconds, and over 13,000 tons of supplies were delivered daily. So guess the Soviet response.
What did they do?
So despite the blockade, the Soviets didn't attempt to shoot down any planes, but they did keep up political pressure on the Allies and engage in a propaganda campaign.
What did they do in that campaign?
So that's the end of the Berlin blockade. We also don't know what they did in the propaganda campaign, but I think it led to the eventual construction of the Berlin Wall
Of
in
the Berlin
1961.
So West Berlin maintained that it was partly all Berlin finally fell into fully.
Well, in the end, the blockade proved to be it's a massive diplomatic and psychological victory for the West. Well, while it highlighted the growing tension between the Soviet Union and the United States, setting the stage for the Cold War to intensify. And the Soviet Union eventually lifted the blockade, but the division of Berlin and Germany continued, leading the eventual construction of the Berlin Wall in 1961. This has the significances.
So I'm just really perplexed by the entire the whole concept of it. Why did they want to really block our supplies? Is it they had built a wall? How was Berlin in the center?
As I told you, Berlin was no. When these guys divided Germany into four occupational zones,
So outside,
Soviet Union formed itself with Berlin in its occupational zone. For example, when you divide Uganda into four parts,
then you have Kampala,
and you happen to have Kampala
entirely.
Kampala on your side,
But
because Kampala is divided into I think 5 regions.
yeah, 5
So-
divisions.
Regions like the Western, Eastern region. So let's say now the Allies are like, so let's say that the
That's
US takes
Uganda.
the West, Uganda.
It's
Let's say-
divided to central.
Yeah, let's say like Uganda takes, USA takes like Western region, then UK takes the Northern region, then France takes the Eastern region,
Then Russia
and
takes
Russia takes
central.
the Central region. So obviously when it takes the Central region,
It involves the capital city.
it was in Kampala. But then the guys are like,
This is the
not
center.
fair. This is the capital city.
Let's have a share.
So let's just have a share between Kampala. So they divide into 4 divisions. USA takes Kawempe, UK takes Machindie, then France takes, which other division do we have in Kampala? Ruwaga,
Ruwaga.
and then USSR
Nakawa.
takes Nakawa division. You know what? So
Yeah.
that's how they did the thing.
So then, meaning that all outside Kampala is for Russia.
Yeah, but at
All
one point,
around.
as we said, these guys, the Allies, the British, Americans, and French, decided to unite and form one West Germany, which the Soviets saw as a threat.
But still, Berlin was
under
in
East Germany.
East Germany.
Yeah.
But still, these guys had their they also had a
They
share
also in Berlin.
in Berlin.
Yeah.
So the wall was constructed where?
In Berlin. That's why it's called the Berlin Wall. It divided Berlin into 2 parts.
Oh, so they constructed from Berlin. Then how did they keep the other territory?
What do you mean?
The territory on the other side.
No! They divided Berlin amongst themselves. You know what I'm saying? So the western part of Berlin went to the other side of Germany, and the eastern part of Berlin went to this side of Germany.
So meaning Berlin was at like
At the center
at the
of
center
Germany.
of Germany.
Yeah.
So then, as they were separating them, so their territories, Berlin happened. Though Russia took it over, Berlin was on the borders.
Was on the borders of of those
the
two,
West
the
and
West and East Germany.
But Germans, I mean, the Russians still controlled
Yeah.
the Berlin, had
Yeah.
full control.
Yeah.
So then the wall comes in. How does it
So
do?
to cut the long story short,
Mm.
this American president called Harry S. Truman
Mm.
declared a doctrine on March 12, 1947, which was a direct response to the spread of communism in Europe and other parts of the world, particularly in the growing influence of the Soviet Union after the Second World War. The doctrine marked the official beginning of the United States policy of containment, which sought to prevent the spread of communism and calcium power during the Cold War. So what happens is this: you realized after the Second World War, the U.S. built many countries, right? It built Britain, built France, rebuilt Germany, rebuilt all its countries that participated in the Second World War.
Why?
But it didn't rebuild the Soviet Union. You get my point. So what happens is this: the Russians, yes, they fought on the side of the Allies.
They're all allies.
Yeah,
with
they're
the
all
USA.
allies with the USA. But then after the war, these countries are really affected. The bombings had affected their buildings. Their factors of production had been destroyed. So yes, they had to turn to the US for loans.
Apart from Russia.
Russia didn't do that. That's the good thing with communism. Do you know what Stalin did?
Why?
He told the Russians, like, yo, when you guys grow your crops, all your crops belong to the government. And you know Russia is good at growing wheat. So guess what?
They got
It
food.
got its money from the wheat. And whoever didn't give his produce to the government, they were exiled in Siberia. By force.
What were they called? Work right? Those are farms whereby they get you, you are arrested and you're taken there and they leave you there.
Kind of forgetting the name, but yeah, they had a term for it.
The other time, which was also in Vietnam,
Oh,
which is
yeah,
also
yeah,
in
yeah,
China,
yeah.
whereby they get those social misfits and then they take them to those farms,
Yeah.
social farms, something like that.
So
And then one thing I do remember about this particular thing of what happened,
Yeah.
why Russia did not look forward to USA.
yeah,
It's like there is a big bully,
yeah,
there is a teacher, and then there is a bully.
yeah.
So then, no, I'm going to look at a predator.
Okay.
In this sense, a predator in the sense of predator against girls, who wants to use girls. And then there is a teacher. So the teacher he wants to teach the students to understand. Then this brilliant predator wants to explain to students, but after doing something. So this is what Russia was. This where the fear was. So Russia looks at the whole of Europe and is like, because Stalin, when I look at Stalin and I read about him historically, he wasn't minding about the people.
No, he wasn't.
He was basically minding about the power he had, the energies, and what he could do to oppress the others. So he looked at what? He looked at Europe and he's like, these guys are weak.
Yeah.
We can give them support. So that they fall down to us.
For us.
Then USA realized that that's the Truman, I think it's the Truman
Yeah, the
doctrine.
American guy. Yeah.
So he looks at that and he's like, Russia was planning to make these people fall for communism.
Yeah.
And with Russia doing that, it's basically going to become a monarchy kind of thing, based on the way they were doing things. So USA decides, you know what? Let's just begin helping these other European countries to boom. And then that's where all of them say coming up. USA was multiplying the capitalism through Western Europe,
Yeah.
including Britain, was badly beaten.
Mhm.
Then for
Really.
Russia, it was using its they're called satellite states.
Yeah.
They were giving them support, but the support wasn't actually support. Rather, their military, their Red Army was there. So it's an interesting story. First tell me,
Guess what? The Truman's doctrine also had some effects.
yeah.
Well, as we quote him in his speech, he said, "It must be the policy of the United States to support free peoples who are resisting
attempted subjugation
Mm.
by armed minorities or by outside pressure.
Mm.
So these Truman there are two key events that played, two major key events that played a major role in the development of the Truman Doctrine.
Mm.
We have the Greek Civil War,
The Greek Civil War.
yeah, that took place between 1946 and 1949.
Mm.
So this goes like this: after the Second World War, Greece was divided into a civil war between what we know as the Communist Democratic Army of Greece, which was supported by the Soviet Union, and the government forces, which was supported by the UK and the USA. So of course the British government was drained from the Second World War and could no longer afford.
Badly beaten.
Yeah, we were really badly beaten. Yes, it defeated the war militarily, but financially it was really defeated.
It was because of USA,
The
Big
financial-
Brother.
No, actually it was the son, because Britain is the mother to the USA. you
Yeah.
know. At some point when you grow up, you're stronger than your mom, so you have to protect your
You have to
mom.
protect your mom.
Yeah, so that's
So
what
it
happened.
was baby boy supporting mommy.
Yeah, mom-son relationship.
Yeah.
So this led to Greece wanted the communists take over.
Mm.
Then you also have the situation in Turkey in 1947.
Mm.
The Soviet Union had been pressuring Turkey to allow them to establish military bases in the
Turkey,
region,
yeah.
in the Turkey, and gain control over the Turkish Straits, which were connecting them to the Mediterranean Sea, and which was crucial for maintaining U.S. influence in the region.
Mm.
And the Truman Doctrine announcement was outlined in a speech to Congress that we had said earlier on the March 12, 1947, and Truman asked for $400 million in economic and military aid for Greece and Turkey to prevent the spread of communism in these two countries.
In Turkey and Greece.
Yeah.
Mm.
This request for assistance was not just about helping these countries, but about setting a precedent for future US actions against the spread of communism worldwide.
Mm.
Then we have like few, that's the Truman Doctrine as we talked about it.
So basically, they were getting a lot of money to, which takes us back to USAID. Today's
You feel
USAID.
my point? Yeah. That's why it takes us back.
So there was the Truman's Doctrine. Then, but we get to hear that forgetting the name. Can you imagine the Cold War?
The aid.
The aid. Now they
Yeah,
had
they
had the Truman aid
No.
doctrine.
No, for the US it was the Marshall Aid.
Was it?
Yeah, Marshall Aid.
Then you're sure?
Then the Molotov plan. Actually they're called plan, not aid.
Oh.
The Marshall Plan and the Molotov Plan.
Oh, then there is something also I've just read about when we were preparing for this Cold War stuff.
Okay.
When Truman came up with this doctrine,
Yeah.
Russia came up with commune something.
Yeah. I've had that one before. I've also kind of
It's an interesting thing. I'll share it
So
with our
what is it all
listeners
about?
before. Now, whereas USA was funding the money,
Yeah.
so that's what I've just told you about. Whereas USA was funding the Western Europe, giving it money and all that, Russia on the other ends, though for it was not supporting, what it was doing its things was more oppressing.
compressing people. Yeah.
Don't you dare go there. Don't you dare.
Don't you do that?
Don't you dare. Because there's one Sika clip I watched. A man had crossed over to Western Berlin. He
Okay.
had gone for a party. Then he comes back home at night, entering, and then he finds Stalin waiting for him. And saying like it was quiet. Where are you from? These guys had curfew. In a sense, that video made it look like they had curfew.
Okay.
Remember, in communism, it seems they were not really enjoying life. Like they were following the
Strict orders.
This is how you'll be doing in the morning, evening. By this time, you have to be home. And they had informants. That's where Putin comes from. KGB?
KGB, yeah.
KGB, KJD, something like that. So they have they are having the KGB. So basically, Russia was made very, very oppressive.
Okay.
But for the US side, it was helping. Like, we help you so that you are not with Russia. We help you so that you are not with Russia. So they came up with the doctrine of Truman. Then this side, Stalin came up with something also. They were all just methods on how to spread communism and defect the other. The other one was to spread capitalism and defect the other.
And compress the other.
Yeah.
Well, that's the funny part. So, Cold War politics That's what's happening. As you can see, well, yeah, other things came up. We had the Cuban missiles.
Tell me about Cuban missiles.
Cuban
That's
missile-
that's Kennedy, JF Kennedy.
Yeah, JF Kennedy. Well, the Cuban missiles, it was like more of a threat, I think, from the communists, because Cuba was communist. You know
Wasn't-
that.
Was it communist before all
By the time of this guy called Fidel Castro, you've heard of Fidel Castro,
when Fidel Castro became leader,
became the leader of
then that's when it became communist.
became communist. But then the missiles were like more of a threat because the Soviet army was in Cuba and it threatened to bomb the US. Like it like showed off its missiles, its
Pump
tanks,
and show
bombs,
and-
all that stuff.
Yeah,
And the Americans were like, okay.
this is scary.
Actually, no, it was the Americans who began it. What the Americans do, they go to Turkey
Yeah,
after this crisis in Turkey I've told you about,
yeah,
and then they set up missiles.
facing Russia.
Then Stalin says, if you realize that, yes, Turkey is near Russia,
we
but
also need
Cuba is
somewhere.
nearer
USA.
the United States. So think about it before you take action.
And
Think about it.
they thought he was bluffing.
Yeah. Like, for example, you attack, let's say I'm a friend who lives in Imbara,
Mm.
and you've reached Masaka. Let's say you're going to attack like he's maybe someone closer to him. But your friend goes and like, yo, okay,
I'm in his house right now.
I'm in your dad's house right now. So think about what you're going to do, and then if
I
you don't think
also know
about
what
it,
I'm
then
going
bro,
to
we're all losing something. So they were ready to lose. And they're like, think about it. Turkey is near Russia. But Cuba is nearer. Because Cuba is in the Caribbeans, right?
Yeah.
Just takes one boat, say, to go to
And
the US.
it's very important for our listeners to know how the relationship with Cuba and Russia came about. Because I remember one time, the USA was supporting, USA and Russia. These guys were never tired of getting involved into other politics. So USA was supporting a government in Cuba, which the Cubans, Fidel Castro,
Yeah,
most
Fidel Castro.
Castro himself, he
Yeah.
was not really within this government. So when Castro was fighting against, he won. Actually, they won. Castro's team won.
Yeah.
Then USA wanted to help rebels fight against
Castro's government.
Then Castro remembers, hey,
I got my friend somewhere down there. Hey, Stalin, come over here.
yo, bro, guys come to say here. These guys, I don't know what they are doing.
I
So
need
then-
some help here.
So then these guys send their missiles. It just came at the right time. USA's missiles are in Turkey pointing towards Russia. Russia is now looking for what should we do? We should also make a shaking move.
Yeah.
Then they decide, you know what? Cuba calls them and they, oh, okay, this is an opportunity for us to also scare them, shake them a little bit. But turns out USA they did not make the pump and show.
Yeah, they did.
It was after USA was spying. Those guys are good at spying. They spied on Russia very many times. They spied on all territories of Russia. And they got to realize that Cuba was having missiles from Russia.
From Russia.
Oh! And then that's the point, like, Kennedy was so stressed. Our dear president, Obote, went there.
You for real? But I went there.
Obote went there. For him, he was looking for aid.
Yeah, he was communist as well. Because
No, he was going for aid. For him, he just wanted help
Okay.
to boom the country's
his economy.
economy. So he went there to meet Kennedy. He meets Kennedy. They talk. He didn't know Kennedy's problems.
Yeah.
It's when he got back home, he realized that Kennedy is on the brink of World War III. And then he sends an apology. Please forgive me. I didn't know you were dealing with matters of great importance. He apologized. Still, Kennedy sent us the money. Now that's where US aid comes in.
Okay.
Kennedy. Now that it was because US aid came from the times of Kennedy.
Yeah.
So they placed US aid so that they could support countries that were agreeing with capitalism. And that's when Russia came up with what? Molotov?
Yeah, the Molotov
The
plan.
Molotov plan. These guys are still having their US aid. So it's some kind of interesting. So with Russia and Cuba, that congestion there, USA plans, they're all on the lines of war. everyone was deploying. Guns were up, guns were loaded, soldiers were now on the ground. And then the Russian president tells him, but wait,
Mm.
during this war, we can stop this war by simply doing this. Take out your missiles from Turkey. I'll carry mine from Cuba.
Wow.
I'll carry mine from Cuba. And then Kenya said, wait. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. That's better. Because no one wanted a
Yeah.
nuclear war.
Yeah.
Because they knew
It would really, they knew the
no
effects
one wanted. So
of
they
those
knew
wars. Yeah.
these guys, Cuba was down here. It was covering 90% of you. Like if Russia was to begin shooting its missiles from
It's just-
Cuba,
it's just a
it was
bottle.
covering 90% of USA. And Turkey, from Turkey to Russia,
It's really a good
it was
distance.
some good distance. But from Cuba to
To
USA,
US, it's, yeah.
it was shooting as far as Alaska. It was just amazing.
Mm.
So at this moment, I just want to tell to our listeners out there, as we go in this small break, I want to share with us some of the few things you have, some of the what do you know about this great conflict? As we get back, we shall be now diving into the impact of the Cold War on international relationships and also look at the formation of NATO and the Warsaw Pact. See you then. Have this small break. Welcome back from our short break. Yes, and right now we are going to dive into the impact of the Cold War. Because the reason why we need to talk about this, we have to realize where we have come from and where we have come from, so that we can know where we are going. Right now, very many wars are going on, and they are really based on the war. They are basically the tensions between USA and Russia. So, Mr. Kaitana, tell me, what is the impact? What was the impact, and maybe still is the impact of the Cold War on international relationships?
Well, international. Okay, at the Cold War, these guys, those who were fighting, are the Soviets and the Americans and their allies. Okay, mainly those two big powers. They didn't want another major war to take place, so they decided to come up with maybe diplomatic methods. For example, they hosted the Yalta Conference. We have all those conferences, but then the Soviet Union kept on pressurizing countries to keep on communism. Because as you remember, the colonialists were capitalists, right? And they controlled mostly the Africans and Asians. So the Soviets didn't have any major colonial territory. So they used the chance to help these
South Africa.
Oh yeah, all those these countries under colonialism. Actually, plus Uganda, Egypt, all those countries, even India, by giving them aid, but they're like, yo, we are giving you our money, but when you get independence, bro, cross the line. So the United States forms the NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, whereby they invited all sorts of capitalistic countries.
Basically in Europe, Western
Europe.
Europe.
Basically in Western Europe. And it was formed in 1949. So in response to that, the Russians formed the Warsaw Pact.
Warsaw.
Yeah, Warsaw is the capital city of Poland, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. What's the capital of Poland?
I didn't even know. I thought since it's called Warsaw, let me first find out here what is the capital
It's
city
the
of
capital
Poland.
city of Poland, bro. I'm sure of that. So, NATO was more of a military alliance that was formed to defend against the Soviet Union. Then in response to that, Soviet Union...
yeah, it's Warsaw. Warsaw is...
The capital city of Poland.
Yeah.
Good. So then, the Soviet Union also forms the Warsaw Pact in response to that. You feel my point?
In response to the NATO.
Yeah, to the NATO. So it also becomes... If you remember in the First and Second World War, we had for example, the First World War, we had the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance. Then Second World War, we had the Allied powers and the Axis powers.
Axis powers.
These were the Hitlers, the Benitos, and Hirohito. Then the Allied powers were the Winston Churchill, Roosevelt, and the French guy. Then this NATO and Warsaw was more of that.
Oh, so they were basically preparing for another war.
Yeah, so in case World War III broke up, it would be between these two powers, these two alliances.
The NATO alliance
and the Warsaw
Alliance.
Yeah. So let's get just a small history for that. And these alliances they represented a clear division between East and West, capitalist and communist, democracy and authoritarianism. And the world became polarized into two camps. So you see, communism in nature, it's more of a, how can I explain it in this way? Like, yes, you're under one ruler and you share all factors of production. And you know what that makes you?
What?
It makes you consolidate your power. Because people have whatever they want. Yes, it's more of a dictatorial rule. But in that dictatorial rule, you have a job, you can eat. But then this affects the rich people. Because bro, you're a billionaire and then part of your money goes to some guy who doesn't want to work. Like, come on.
But then in terms of history, records that these communist countries were basically hunger-stricken countries. I don't know how that happened.
That's what I'm trying to say. They were okay. I think the initiators of this ideology, communism, Karl Marx, the German guy, he believed that all forces of production are supposed to be shared by the state. But then I think Stalin, due to his greed for power, he used it as a way to consolidate his power and as a way to improve his economy. Stalin's main aim was to spread communism, never to develop Russia. It was what? It was to spread communism. That's
never to yeah. Very true. Unlike Lennox.
Yeah.
Lennon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lenin. Yeah, Lenin, he wanted to develop Russia and save Russia from the Saddam. But Stalin, his point was that he has to spread communism. That's where most of the money went, through aiding those countries. You know, aiding a war is not easy, bro. You know, aiding
They
a
were really they spent a lot of money
in
on
aiding
Russia,
these countries.
on their military.
Yeah, and fighting colonialism from these developing countries, asking them to join them their side. Stalin was more of developing a bigger Russian empire. But if people did understand, though that's more of a theory, it's not like the facts. It was in books. But his practices they signify that, you know? Like they know that his practices like exiling those farmers to Siberia. Which communists would do that? You know? Stalin supported Russia. And you remember when Hitler was coming to power in 1933, he was supported by the communists. No. He was supported by the capitalists.
Really?
Yeah.
But capitalists were against communists, the ones who were against the Jews.
At first, Hitler was against. When Hitler was coming to power, he used it as a chance to come to power. Because you know, Hitler came by the time when Germany was really dying. The Weimar Republic, by then, it was really dying. The economy had killed it, the economic depression, all that. So the Weimar Republic was really going to its ruins. You get my point. So he asked the capitalists for support, and they gave him support. But at first, his party was the National Socialist Party. But coming to power, he asked the capitalists, but then they refused. Then he went the socialists.
Oh, they refused?
Yeah, they refused. So he went the socialists. So Stalin believed that his alliance with Hitler would, you know, spread communism that side. That is why later on Stalin decides to fight Hitler.
Because he was not doing what was planned to be done.
But at first Hitler went the capitalists and they refused, and then he later goes to the socialists, gave him power. The reason Hitler went the capitalists was he wanted to fight communism in Germany. That's what he claimed. Destroy all factors of communism. But then when he goes that side, he's like, yo, come on, think about it. My party is the National Socialist Party. Like, come on, support it. Then they supported him, gave him everything. Hitler took over power. So when he takes over power, he starts by killing the Jews. The Holocaust, killing the German half-castes. No. Personally, you know, no, if you realize why Hitler, okay, we're getting off topic, but if you realize why Hitler was getting over these countries, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Poland, I think Liechtenstein, those countries had Germans in them. Now this is the case, let's say, in Rwanda and Congo. We have the Tutsi in Congo, but when these Tutsi are Congolese, but let's say some Rwanda leader comes up and is like, yo, I want these Tutsis in Rwanda. I think when they are Congolese. So that means when he wants them in Rwanda, that means he's taking that territory. And this can't be allowed by the central government. So that's what Hitler was doing. These Germans were basically Polish. These Germans were basically Austrians. They speak German in Austria. These Germans were basically Czechs, I think. Those from Czechoslovakia. They are the Czechs. But by then it was Czechoslovakia. They were basically from that country. But Hitler wanted them to end up under one single big Germany. And he killed the Jews, he killed the Rhineland bastards. These were kids born from German and African parents. He called them the Rhineland bastards. He killed those. Yeah, he couldn't invade Switzerland because Switzerland was a neutral state, which could actually lead to his death. Nobody can invade Switzerland because that's where most money is kept. So then when you invade Switzerland, it has no army, but bro, you do it on your own risk. So he left that. So he was trying to bring Germany under one ruler. And that's the same thing with Stalin. That's why Stalin invaded Poland and added it to the USSR because there were Russians in Poland. The same thing with Czechoslovakia, there were Russians in there. That's why the USSR, there were some Russian nationalities in there. So that's the thing with NATO and war. So these were military alliances formed to fight against each other. But when USSR fell in 1991, we thought NATO could maybe also drop. Because when your enemy dies, I don't see another reason you should keep fighting. But NATO kept in existence. So what NATO does, it comes in Africa and it's like, we are spreading democracy and kills many leaders.
Our Gaddafi.
Yeah, our Gaddafi. It kills guys like Samora. This Burkina Faso guy, what was his name? forgotten his name, sorry, but he was a soldier. And then he also killed Patrice Lumumba. He was killed by the CIA, but NATO had a hand in it, and UN couldn't do anything. And then many leaders. Patrice Lumumba was one of the person whom I really felt touched when he died.
Yeah.
It initiated the overthrow of the emperor of Ethiopia. That monarchy had been in it. Actually, I think it was one of the.
Haile Selassie.
Yeah, his monarchy was the longest serving monarchy in the world. Those guys date back to King Solomon. Guess what?
Okay.
King Solomon and Queen of Sheba, they had a kid, and then when Queen of Sheba came back to, when she came back home, she gave back to a kid.
So from that time, it has been the
yeah,
lineage of
actually, that's what
Haile
they believe. I
Selassie.
don't know if it's true. I can't say it's right, but the Ethiopians believe that Haile Selassie was descended from Solomon.
That's why Jamaicans treat him like a
As
god
a
or
god.
something.
The Rastafarian movement.
Yeah.
So, ono president wa Burkina Faso mwera bidde. Amuyita over. You've seen this leader who's raised Burkina Faso. He was a soldier. Not this one we have right now. The previous one.
He was a soldier.
Yeah. Yeah, but the CIA has done all that stuff.
CIA, NATO.
Sorry, NATO, but of course backed by the CIA.
So that's how the Cold War has been. Basically, the relations he has made, the impact he has had internationally, they have been basically war kind related.
He was called Thomas Sankara.
Sankara.
Yeah, you know Sankara, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was also killed under such circumstances. And it was the same capitalists that overthrew Obote and brought in Amin. Let's come back to Ghana politics. Yeah, because I thought Amin would spread capitalistic ideas. Remember the Common Man's Charter, 1969? So Obote was initiating communism in Uganda. So we thought, actually, that was before
That was after JF Kennedy.
Yeah, in 1969, because JF Kennedy died in 1963. 63, 65.
He died a year later after that. He died some short time later after
our independence.
After our independence.
Yeah.
It may have been 69, if I remember well.
No, it was 61.
61.
Yeah, because Lincoln died in 1861 and Kennedy died in 1961. So they died 100 years apart. That's what I know. So then later on, we thought, well, NATO up to now has been spreading its propaganda throughout the world. We have many countries joining the NATO. Now Ukraine joins the NATO.
He was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963.
63.
Yeah.
Then that means Lincoln died in 1863 because they died 100 years apart.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's it. So NATO was there, and when the USSR fell, these countries under the USSR became independent. Because USSR wasn't Russia. No. USSR had other communist countries from Eastern Europe. But when it fell, these countries got independence. Then now we have Russia again.
Russia trying to become USSR again.
Yeah, but then Ukraine was a Russian territory because most Ukrainians speak Russian. I'm sure about that with my research.
Many.
Yeah, many of them speak Russian.
Which reminds me, there is a president, the one who gave Russians freedom.
Yeah.
If you give me, I've forgotten the names.
You gave Russian what?
He gave Russians, I'll call it freedom.
Was that Lenin?
No, forget Lenin, forget the next president after Stalin. There are very many presidents who came in, but there's a president. The USSR fell because of a Russian president giving
Was
up.
it Nikita Khrushchev?
No, not
Something.
Nikita. I'm going to get the name.
Okay.
So this president, it failed maybe because yes, their policies were failing,
Yeah.
but did not just fall.
Okay.
The then president, was now open to criticism. He was now open to riots, strikes. He told people, you can't do that. He was now open to restructuring the system of Russia. He was now open to reforms. He was open to elections in the satellite states. So despite the fact that he did not want Poland to break away, despite the fact that he did not want Greece to break away, because he was willing and he was kind of free, he chose to be like, you know what? You can have your elections. Because he was a free man. So before these guys were having elections, let's say in Poland, they had to fly to Russia, discuss with a big man, And then the guy is like, it's okay. You can have your what?
I understand.
You can have your elections. So it turns out that they had, like, all these were states and they all had leaders.
Okay.
And then there was the top USSR leader. Even Russia itself had a different president.
Yeah.
Now, there is a president who came because of the democracy. This particular president, I'm sorry for getting the names, but I will get the names and I shall put them in the
What
description.
was the year? What was like? his
That
years
was
of regime?
towards the end of the. It was in
The
fact.
Soviet Union.
It was after the end of the Soviet Union.
After the fall
After
of the Soviet Union.
after the end, I would say, because it did not fall. This guy decided to let it pass.
Okay.
He decided to let it pass.
Yeah.
He cut down on the costs of military spending, and he spent most of the money trying to rebuild the lives of the Russian people.
I understand.
And
He was called Boris Nikolaevich.
Boris is the president of Russia.
Yeah.
He was the president of Russia, but there is one who gave him, because of his policies, Boris was able to become president.
So you're saying the president before Boris?
Before Boris was the good man.
Okay.
Because what Boris did is Boris signed treaties with Ukraine, with other USSR states, and they decided that they are going to have independence. They are
Yeah.
going to break out from the USSR. So they had a top leader who was Boris's forerunner.
Forerunner.
The one was above him.
Yeah.
Because they had this system like that in Iran.
Mm.
They had that chief kind of thing. You know, that leader who is above the president.
Yeah.
They kind of had him who was uniting all USSR. But
Yeah,
Russia,
yeah.
Boris,
They're only showing us Boris, not the one before.
what Boris did this.
Yeah.
Boris went to those Ukraine states and he told them, let's sign a treaty and you guys are free. That happened when this USSR president or leader was captured and was taken into custody. But then the Russian
By the orders of Boris.
not under orders of Boris.
Okay.
I may be tempted to think so, but it wasn't him, by the way. So Boris fought to get him back, but he told him, hey, that time you were away, we signed treaties with these other USSR states, and now they are officially free states. So basically, to China mulimo. So now we are Russia, just Russia. All the other countries are also their own states. So that's how it kind of fell back. That's how it was falling back, because they realized communism was not being of importance to them. It was basically draining them. Yeah, that's what I know about the president of the USSR.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, because that's it. But then, this Cold War also affected our economic life. Like through the way we now trade things, the way we now transact businesses, the modes of payment. Yeah, it may not come as a direct effect, but it comes up as a.
So I will ask, are there any effects that we can see of the Cold War on the way we're doing our trading, global economy, including the Marshall Plan, the rise of the Soviet Union as an economic power? Could we really pinpoint some of the effects? Were they positive or were they negative?
Kind of positive and negative at some point. For example, as you've said, the initiation of those aid plans, the Marshall Plan and the Molotov Plan, those were more of like the US aid, and maybe, let me call it that, like aid that was used to give to these third world countries. So what happens is this. During colonialism, actually, let's take it for our continent, Africa. The main colonial masters were the British and the French. Though we had the Portuguese and the Dutch and the Belgians. So those were capitalists, right? So what does USSR do? It realizes these countries can't live without those colonial territories, right? They realize, of course, Britain can't live without a colony. So what Russia does, it goes to those African colonial territories and finds out those nationalistic struggles. And you know what it does? It sees Africans don't have money to sponsor those nationalistic struggles. So it gives them money. Secretly, because it was against
It
the
was
UN
all doing it secretly,
secretly.
apart from USA wasn't.
But the US realized that there's a problem. Why are these struggles really succeeding? Like, man, like this is just a
Because
country with just-
basically USA was always supporting the ones in charge.
yeah, in charge. And like, okay. So the US General of Staff comes, so the Chief of Staff. So the US Chief of Staff comes up called General Marshall and realizes he's like, okay, actually this plan came up as a result of giving aid to countries that have been affected by the Second World War, that the economies are not failed to, those economies that had failed to come up. But then they'll give it to you on condition. When you give you this money, make sure you're capitalist.
You're capitalist. That was
Yeah.
a condition they're giving
Yeah,
everyone.
and the US was really open. So guess what happens?
What?
The USSR also discovers that, they're okay, we are done with the hiding. Let's come up with a Molotov plan. And they give even more money to those nationalistic struggles. That's why after independence, most African countries crossed to communism.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Currently,
And then the
Tanzania-
British
Yeah.
and the French supported other nationalists to take over governments and cross over back to capitalism. That's why in the between the 70s and the 80s, there were many coups in Africa. Many coups.
Yeah. Sponsored by this Cold War
By the
thing that-
capitalists. Mostly the capitalists were sponsoring these coups.
because most of the people
Yeah, after
ruling
independence, most guys crossed to communism.
communism.
And the economies were really doing well. Because if you see Uganda in the Obote time and Amin's time, it was really bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Then they had to cross back.
So I just want to know, as we are concluding our show,
Yeah.
it has been a really nice show to talk about the Cold War, because right now we are looking at its effects.
Effects.
Could you try to pinpoint for those who do not see that actually the Cold War, we still see a lot of traces in it in the current day-to-day?
Well, maybe, for example, the Cold War right now is still, it's influencing actually the war in Russia and Ukraine. Because, the spark-off factor of the Russian... Because if you see the spark-off factor of the Russian-Ukrainian war was the joining of Ukraine in NATO. When Ukraine joined NATO.
Wanted to join.
I wanted to join.
It did not
almost
join.
joined.
It almost joined.
But it didn't join.
It didn't join.
The fact was that Ukraine, the Russians believed that Ukraine was it was more of a spy country to the American government.
Well, I heard that it's basically because all those times Russia has been defeated by, let's say, Napoleon, let's say Hitler.
Napoleon never defeated Russia.
Like all those times they have invaded Russia. There's a season of success they had. There's a season of success there, but all those times they were attacking Russia.
Yeah.
They were using the line of
Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
So that's why to Russia, Ukraine is very, very
very important.
essential. And it was as the USSR and the Soviet Union was falling, I tell it was a voluntary fall.
Yeah.
Because the presidents were like, you know what, we are going to give up, but these are our conditions.
Okay.
And part of those conditions were these, that you guys are not going to get any closer to the east. For us, we are not moving any closer
To the
anywhere.
west.
So we are just basically that. But NATO defied those. And it has been, many members have been joining, which
Up to
were
now,
formerly what?
Communist,
Soviet
yeah.
Soviet countries.
Soviet capitalist.
But again, even though that happened, Russia maintained its calm till Ukraine dared to think of joining NATO. And then it's kind of sparked off. That's the reason Trump's administration is giving currently.
Oh, like Zelensky was the cause of the war.
Yeah. There's a way they have really turned their guns on that guy. Poor guy. I'm like, what?
and you see, he had relied on these guys. The
He had
Americans,
relied on
most
the
of
Americans most of the times. So basically, the Cold War thing has nurtured, has led to all these. It's like that kind of hatred they're having. It never dies out.
Yeah.
It's just causing more trouble. Because now you look at North Korea. Same thing. Russia
South
is
Korea,
defending
the North.
the North. And
America is
USA is
defending
defending
the
the South.
And realize the South is developing more than the North. At the
Because
high
of capitalism, the other guys are communism. And maybe communism may not be bad, but because these guys, their mentality, their mindset is only set to weapons.
Yeah.
So every little money they get, weapons. Every little money they get, weapons. Every little food they get, soldiers. Every little anything they get, it's going to the military. All they have in mind is military capability.
Capabilities, yeah.
But go down to the south. That's what this new president, before Boris came in, that's what he did. He cut on the costs of military spending.
Yeah.
And then the country started growing. And people were really enjoying their country. They really loved it. That's how Boris came into place. There was a very good thing of peace that came in until Putin has come in. It's just amazing the way things keep on turning around and the way past grudges come back on the forefront. So I was wondering, what do you have to say on this? Because you're hearing of cybersecurity threats, USA is being attacked by Russia.
Those were just like, as I talked on the introduction of this show, the Cold War wasn't more of a gunfire war, but more of a verbal war. So these guys were trying to show what they have. For example, during the landing of the moon, the Russians sent a chimpanzee. The Americans sent a human being, Neil Armstrong. So it was more like proving. The cybersecurity threats were like, because by then the internet wasn't really strong, but they used more of the satellites. You know, when they initiated the satellites in space.
Russia sent a baboon.
Baboon chimpanzee, but it didn't send a human being to space. It sent him later after the Americans had sent a human being.
Russia sent the first satellite.
Yeah. And it was the first country to land on the moon. Though America sent the first man on the moon. Though Russia was the first country to land on the moon, as we think. Whereas these other threats, they use them by satellites to see, actually, to increase on their spy networks in those those respective countries. For example, they thought like maybe at one time, Russia may wake up in the morning with those bloody mood swingers like, yo, I'm fighting USA, I'm prepared. And you see, US and USSR have tried to maintain their power because Russia has been a superpower since the ages.
Since the World War II.
No, since the fall of the Ottoman Empire, Russia was a superpower. Not just since the fall of Napoleon, Russia has been having a hand in world politics. If you go back to history, Russia was one of the countries that was fighting against the French Revolution. Russia was one of the countries that was fighting against Napoleon. Russia was in the Congress. You get my point? Russia was in the Crimean War. It was into that thing of saying like, you know, let's defend Turkey and what, blah, blah. Actually, Russia wanted to take over Turkey because Turkey has access to the sea via its straits. You get my point? Russia has had a hand in the First World. Russia had a hand in the World War I. Russia had a hand in the Second World War. It signed the Versailles Peace Treaty. So Russia has had a hand in world politics since the ages. America just came in of recent. America is just a young country, you know, though older than German. Get my point? Because German came into existence. This German we say right now came into existence in 1871, 70. Then America was there since the 1780s. So as we see, America was just an ambitious state. And by the time America coming up was after the First World War. You know why? America didn't want... Actually, when you see mostly these major wars, America comes in late. And the war is almost ending.
That's what China is trying to do.
Then later on, it gives you money. So when it gives you money, it owns your economic power. When someone gives you money, it's about owning, because you can't live without them, can you?
You can't.
You can't. So they determine what you do. So when they determine what you do, they end up becoming your bosses, and hence the superpower thing. But Russia still refuses. They're like, no, I'm not buying under this young kid, man. This is just a kid. Russia's state has been big since the ages, and the kings and leaders have managed to control it using their power. So up to now, the Americans really want. It's like a kid trying to fight his grandfather, and then his grandfather just looks at you and is like, dude, you can't do anything.
Whether it's still true that Russia is strong, but we have to give this thought of war, the Cold War. We have to come to think about the effects he has had on people's lives. you have to look at how simple things have really been big. I think a communistic kind of world would be not bad, but the fact that we're so militarized, every communist country was so brutal. You know, it was actually going against a very core principle in humanity, the free will, freedom to choose. You know?
Louis, to correct you, we shouldn't think that Russia initiated communism.
It didn't.
Communism was in Europe even before the French Revolution.
Yeah.
We had guys like Karl Marx. We had guys like the French. During the French Revolution, we had communists. We also had guys in England. So etc. So communist was in Europe, but those are praised by the capitalists. What the communists believe, okay, though they use it in a bad way, but I believe communism, okay, it's not bad, but communism doesn't give chance to people. Doesn't give chance people to explore their potentials outside there.
Now that attacks the core value
of humanity,
of like making your choice,
yeah,
free
make your
will.
choice,
Like
you know what I'm saying?
the government wants to think for you.
For you, yeah.
That was the ultimate danger.
But capitalism, if you're rich, you're rich. If you're broke, you're broke. No one cares. But communism encourages even laziness because you know the government is going to provide for you.
But
That's
then
why I was
laziness
saying-
was also not given priority because you had to have something, and the
Of
government
course.
comes to your
Yeah,
door.
to help you, then
Give
at least you
us
have
this.
something. Yeah, but then,
Anyway,
yeah, that was the talk of the day, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was really a nice show. Just go into the comment section and tell us what you really enjoyed. And please subscribe to CBM Radio and turn that notification button on for our daily shows. The Lens is always around every Monday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
See you then.